Well, we now want to take you over to South Africa to discuss matters transportation and, to be specific, sustainable mobility, with Kenyans as well as the rest of the world moving from fossil fuels and looking to shift to electric vehicles. What will it take to achieve this dream, and what do governments as well as the private sector need to do? To have this conversation is MandlaLamba. He is the Chief Executive Officer and founder at Agilitee Africa, joining me from South Africa. Thank you, Mandla, for joining us on KBC. If you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's start off with just where e-mobility is currently. Of course, there's been a push to have more electric vehicles adopted. There have to be systems that have to be put in place for that to be successful. Where are we currently?
We are slagging behind, and I'm worried, though there are now steps that you can see that are at least getting visible, but there's been a slagging behind of the e-mobility in Africa. And the reason for this is that there is lesser participation from the government point of perspective, because if there was that support from governments across the continent, I believe that the stages where we are would have advanced much more than where we are today.
For this to be successful, governments, they have to put in place a number of things such as regulations and incentives. Do you think Africa is on the right track when it comes to this?
Yeah, regulations are the reforms of systems that are in place that were used, for an example, to regulate the automobile industry in terms of the homologation of vehicles and so forth. These are things that are causing a lot of even young stars and young entrepreneurs in Africa to take time before they can come into the market, because they realize that if I'm going to apply for a license with the government to be a manufacturer, the manufacturing license, which is for homologation of the vehicles, it takes long. And another thing that adds to this problem that we're having is the fact is iPhone, and there's other phones like Samsung and the other phones, but they prioritize iPhone more than they prioritize any other phone. Electric vehicles in Africa are what we would call the iPhone in the first world. Electric vehicles is what is needed in Africa. We have a problem of jobs cuts. Those who manage to keep their jobs, they get lucky, but they get salaries reduced. We have a problem of skyrocketing petrol prices in Africa. We have a problem of a lack of government support in the industry of manufacturing of electric vehicles in Africa. And all these things, they add up to a stagnating green revolution movement in Africa. But I believe if we can have the government's hands on deck, this will be much more easier. Someone would say to me, but we have a problem. If I buy the electric vehicle, it's expensive. But for Africa, there are means to make electric vehicles affordable because they are a necessity. When something is a necessity, you are able to be able to come up with solutions. For Africa, for Kenya, for East Africa, this is a need. It's a necessity. It's not an issue where we say, no, the government cannot be able to look into this. If they start flexing up the regulations and allowing new players to come into the market, even people in Kenya who are interested in the EV space, if someone says, I'm going to go register a company and I'm going to start and get into this and try and raise capital, then you hit a snag that you'll have vehicles, you'll be able to get to a stage where you have a prototype, but it's not regulated to operate on the road, because the government would take a year or more to get homologation done. That's not right.
So, Mandla, as you say that it is a necessity for Africa to move to electric vehicle or electric mobility, How about matters such as charging points, where it's easy to find fuel? I mean, you can just go into a fueling station and fuel your car, but charging points are not as plenty as you would want them to be. So before more people adopt this, there have to be charging points. What can be done to hasten this process?
You see, it pulls us back. I love this beautiful question. It takes us back to the same thing I was saying. If the government was providing incentives for the industry and flexing up things, it would be easy even for other investors to come into the infrastructure development of their vehicles. What you're saying is very true. It's not easy for you to tell someone who's got about 6-7 filling stations of petrol in a radius of about 5 kilometers from where they stay. In the same, when they're at work, they've got maybe 7 or 8 more filling stations in a radius of about 2 kilometers from where they work. And then you tell them to convert into electric vehicles. It's not easy when you're going to find one electric vehicle charging station probably 40 kilometers. It's not easy. So if the government can participate, I'll give you an example. In the oil industry, we had the beauty of that the private sector was the one that actually that still controls the automobile industry. Petrol companies and all these companies that are involved, like your BP, Sasol in South Africa, and the rest of them. But in this one, the government has not had this part to play. We are at the end of an old order of the world and the beginning of a new world order, which is driven by green revolution. This is where the governments are supposed to be saying, let us come in and invest even in the infrastructure. You look at America, the government of America has been rolling out charging stations, but the government in Africa are waiting. You don't know why they're waiting. So in America, they understand that by the time the button is pressed, that no more petrol cars on the road, the government will be making money from these charging machines. But the African government don't see it that way. That's the problem that we are having.
That needs to be sorted out. Mandla, you had talked about the price point for these electric vehicles. Now, there is the issue of innovation and just using technology to solve these problems, especially for the African continent, how to reduce this price point from an innovation perspective. Do you think that we have the capacity to do this? And what needs to be done to support technologies and innovation in the electric vehicle market?
I'm glad you asked that question because we're the first ones to do it. Agilitee has launched in the past few months. We launched Agilitee at last, which is our entry-level electric vehicle, which is a 4-wheeler. It's a car that has a range of about 100 kilometers. It's an entry-level vehicle. And this car costs about $10,000. And it comes with its own, what you would call in a cell phone, a power bank. When you can't charge at home, you've got this. It has that you put in the boot of your car. Every time you run out of, you can charge. So it's a 10,000 rand car. And then one of the ones we came with, it's because of the environment. We have a problem of outages. Even now, electricity just came back in South Africa an hour ago. We've been in the dark. Electricity goes for about 4.5 hours, 3 times a day in South Africa as we speak right now. And I know this crisis is not just happening in South Africa, it's happening across the continent of Africa. So we also looked at that and said, how do we then come up with something that would solve this problem? The first thing we did was to manufacture a car called Agilitee Go. This car is self-charging. It has a solar panel on the roof, but well nice. It doesn't look like you think it's a sunroof. It's a sunroof. It charges while you are parked at work. When it's fully charged, it will give you a range of 400 kilometers when it's fully charged. You can travel 400 kilometers clean. You don't have to charge it. It charges from the sun. And then we came up with a charging system, which is the fastest charging system in Africa. And this charging system is called Agilitee Power Boost 7. This Power Boost 7 allows us to generate power to charge cars, not just Agilitee cars, all electric vehicles in this charging system. And this charging system is able to charge, to generate electricity, part of the electricity that is generated from solar, not from the grid, from solar, is transmitted into a storage system, an energy management system. If that energy management system is full, the other energy gets used. When the other energy is used and there's more produced than what is being currently used, the other energy gets saved. So there's no wastage. So this system has a management, an energy management system that can be able to store up to 350 kilowatts of energy in one charging point that can charge 2 cars. So that can help you charge 10 cars every 3-4 hours a day for a period of 20 days or 30 days without worrying about electricity, because we store the energy. When the weather is not favorable, we use the energy that has been stored, and then when the weather is favorable, we generate more energy.
Mandla,
so we have solved the problem. It's not that we can't prove it. We've already done it. We've got affordable cars already on the road in South Africa.
So as we come to a close of this conversation, you are in the startup business and you have first-hand experience of how that is, especially in this sector. What do you think governments can do specifically to empower more startups to enter this space? About a minute or so for you, please.
Yeah, I would say this. I believe that the problems of Africans can only be resolved by people in Africa. In the old order of the world, we had a situation where our problems would be our solutions for the problems we have would be provided by people from the West who don't know what truly happens in Africa. We are here, we wear the shoe, we know how it fits. So the people who will be able to solve daily problems like immobility in Africa will be Africans who live in this continent, who are not here to make money from it and exit. People are here to see this develop. And this cannot be done without the government flexing up regulations. First regulation to be flexed up. The government needs to flex up the registration of homologation for entrance in the industry. People who want to come into for them to get all the approvals by the government that they are manufacturers like any other foreign entity, but these are locals. That's number one. Number two, government coming up with incentives that incentivize not just the manufacturers, but incentivize the buyers. If the government says if a car costs $6,000, for an example, the government says if you buy an electric car, we will give you, if it's $6,000, we'll pay $2,000 for you. You only have to pay $4,000. And then also find another incentive method for manufacturers. I believe there will be a huge participation. And this would have to be backed up also by infrastructure development, which makes it easy for someone to twist or move from a petrol car to an electric car, because there is enough charging stations across the continent.
Right. Thank you very much, MandlaLamba, for speaking with us. We have been talking about sustainable mobility and the journey towards just having more electric vehicles on the road. Thank you very much for speaking with us.